So you develop a one-sided addictive relationship towards substance. Now, the trickiest thing about the psychology of that is you lose a sense of internal power completely. Because with core creation currents and with the way how Source is structuring anything, this reality, this is a holographic reality. What you see is actually a reflection of the currents that you've projected. This body, anything manifest, anything matter, anything that you see, hear, feel, sense, that is a reflected projection field of the currents that are originating from you. So when you put your power outside of yourself into any kind of substance or any other relationship, even with a person, if you rely on someone else to make you feel a certain way, you are reversing, quite literally, you are reversing creation currents. Your mind is pretty much functioning as a writer. It gives you scripts. It gives you a linear structure. It gives you language. It works in a structure that has an electric, base electric quality. And however you define yourself, the role that you are giving to yourself is pretty much going down directly to your emotional body, to your actor, whose sole job is to follow the script. Now, obviously, your actor can improvise and kick a fuss. Your body can just go, no, I'm not having any more of that shit. But as a general rule, your body will play out the script that you're giving to it. Now, back then, I assigned my heart as my director. But then later on, I'm realizing that really is your spirit, Source and your spirit. You do have an individuated spirit. Source is this undifferentiated field of consciousness, and a spirit energy, a spirit body, a spirit structure is an individuation. So you have a spirit, galaxies have a spirit body, any form, each and every one of your atoms have their own spirit body component, their own spirit body template. You are quite literally script writing a reality for yourself. So if our first imprints, and usually on this planet, our first imprints are heavily indoctrinated with fear, pain, suffering, scarcity, then unless you consciously start rewriting your scripts, reprogramming your neural pathways, repracticing your new habits, then you just keep subconsciously, unconsciously, covertly, overtly playing out the original scripts that you've got embedded from your first role models. How we relate is usually, Freud was a coke addict and coke dealer and a pedophile. So just take everything that he says with a pinch of salt. Coke back then was like, it wasn't, Freud was not like standing in a street corner being dingy, like, you want a hit? You're looking for something, sugar? No, it was pretty much the case of, oh, ma'am, you've got a toothache? Here's some cocaine. Like back then it was that. So that's how he was a coke dealer, but he was prescribing cocaine and he was taking cocaine at pretty large doses, as well as in his notes and diaries, he was, he mentioned love towards minors, which again, at that time was not such a big deal. But just, I don't quote Freud lightly, but it originates from him, or, he was the first one who coined it, that we do have a sexual attraction towards the opposite sex parental figure. Parental figure, because it can be an aunt, it can be an uncle, it can be your brother, sister. The opposite sex is whoever is closest to you, whoever you have the most emotional relation to. That opposite sex parental figure becomes a blueprint for your later relationships. If your brothers and sisters were cruel to you, you will expect your partner to be cruel to you. It's not that you want it. It's not that you consciously wouldn't do anything and everything to conduct your life exactly the opposite way, but subconsciously, that's what you expect from your partner, because those original imprints set a value system in our emotional understanding. Is this how much I'm worth? Is this how much I'm valued? Oh, okay. Then I will adjust my internal value system to match the feedback that I'm getting, to match your vibration, to find common ground, harmonize with you. I will change myself. And that thought process, that self-worth system, that self-esteem system, that value system is very, very, very heavily related to our relationship with food. Because food is one of the things that we need on a daily basis. It shouldn't be this way. If we would understand physics, if we would understand creation currents, if we would understand how to tone and communicate with different parts of our biology, we would be able to communicate with UV light, and we would gather energies from UV light, because we generate the same energy storage, quantum storage particles that UV light can activate. So we would just be able to communicate with sunlight and unleash our stored electric potential and just feed ourselves. So the very fact that we need food in and of itself is a control system. But now that we do need food on a daily basis, our relationship with food is pretty close to our relationship with love. Intimacy, closeness is pretty much our vital food. And our relationship with food, physical human food, is pretty much a question of survival, much like love. So we start modeling the two relationships. We start having a love relationship with food. Now, if our definition of love is something like along the lines that love hurts, love is painful, love will neglect me, love will abandon me, love will never love me back, then that is pretty much how we choose our food items, our nourishment. But our relationship with nourishment, our relationship with how we take care of ourselves, how we take care of our bodies, it starts with love. It starts with our definition of love, how we love ourselves. Because feeding ourselves is quite literally determining our level of consciousness. It's the same thing as if you just don't have the frequencies on the way back home, you're going to vaporize, you're going to blow yourself up. If you don't build from quality building materials, your house is going to be brittle. And if it's brittle, it cannot hold certain complexities of frequencies. if you don't hold a complexity, if you don't have a complex geometry, if you don't have a complex movement, then certain levels of emotional states, consciousness states, are going to be quite literally out of your reach, out of touch. They are not going to be accessible. You're going to be more prone to anger, fear, hatred, antagonism, numbness, instead of joy, love, pleasure, because your house is not built for those frequencies. Love doesn't hurt. There is no pain and pleasure. Pain hurts. Love doesn't hurt. Now, that might not be the experiential understanding. When we go into not just intimate relation, not just sexual relationships, but when we have any form of intimacy, if you feel the slightest amount of fear, pain, hesitation, if you're just ever so slightly, if you're just ever so slightly reserved, if you don't fully give yourself, if you don't fully allow yourself to project nothing but love, then you get back exactly what you project. If you go into a situation, a relationship, a thought with a little bit of muddled, binary, dual, polarized consciousness, then that's what you get back. If on any level, overt, covert, subconscious, conscious, any level, you are afraid that you're going to be left alone, that you're going to be abused, misused, that you're not going to be loved the way that you want to be loved, that you give too much, that you're gaining too much, and you might feel guilty about it. If you know that you are using someone, but you still keep using them. If you go into situations knowing that you're going to exit and you only have an agenda and you're not emotionally invested, then you are quite literally writing a reality for yourself. Source does not have, when I say doesn't have any preference, eternity is the preference. Eternal life is the preference. Source doesn't judge. It doesn't have any moral judgments on what's right or wrong, what's a should or a shouldn't. It purely gives. It replicates everything that you want to experience. And I can only speak about my experience as a child, but when I was growing up, I just couldn't understand why people are treating each other the way they are treating each other. I didn't see any intimacy from my own parents. They were not affectionate with each other. I've never seen them kissing. I don't know how would I've reacted. I'm hopefully not with ew, but I've never seen an example of a man and a woman, the first man and the first woman that this child has seen, being kind to each other, being loving with each other, giving and constantly giving without wanting to take anything. My coding, my imprint, my encryption, my first script that I got from others was passive aggressive, cold, repressed, suppressed, depressed, anxious, detached, numb, and inwardly and outwardly hostile. The same thing as with dehumanizing, when we invert creation mechanics, when we believe that we are external matter first, and then we might have a soul, we might have a spirit, but we're not quite sure about it. It could be, maybe not. Then we're literally coming from the outside in. For sure, I have a body because I can touch it, I can feel it. That's concrete, that's reality. But I'm not quite sure what this spirit stuff is about. We are reversing mathematical codes. So we don't believe anymore that we are powerful because we don't understand how we generate matter. Mata or. Your ma, 8 layer, your ta, 7 layer, and your or, 15 layer, are communicating with each other. That's how you create matter. Quite literally. That's how you generate matter, by merging different layers of your own auric field, your own biofield. And a completely plant-based diet is not necessarily morally better, because if you don't build a frequency bridge, if you force something external onto you, such as semen retention, if you force something onto you without building the energetic bridge, then you start creating a gap. So if your body consciousness is not ready for a full frequency spectrum, and you just start eating these spacey foods, if you just start eating raw foods, and you start only engaging with this very fluff-headed love and light language, like whatever goes around in the New Age spiritual movements, then you are more prone to believing things like, I am not my body. This body is dirty. There's something wrong with it. I should just be sitting meditating for the entire day and completely neglect my body. I'm regretting that I'm in a body, or that I'm not respectful with my body. Everything is source. Everything is God. This body right here is made of the same spirit food, the same God material as your love and light thoughts. It's the exact same thing. So if you are completely ready for a full-on plant-based diet, that's a level of consciousness. If not, don't beat yourself up for it. Just introduce more consciousness. Give me 1 second to read that. If you just introduce more and more awareness into what you're eating and how you're eating, it's not just what's in front of you, but also your emotional state when you're eating. Are you actually focusing on a relationship with the food right now? Or are you playing out old scripts? Are you eating in front of a TV and literally watching a shoot-up movie while you're nourishing yourself? Are you sitting in front of a computer? Are you reading emails? Are you arguing with someone and just wolfing down food? That goes into your biology. That builds you up. You can build up toxins just from talking to yourself badly. You can literally produce chemicals in your body that will start eating you up from inside just because you keep being cruel to yourself. When I eat, at some point we're gonna, I don't want to give you anything that I'm not entirely ingrained with. If I don't have the full frequency cycle, I don't want to just give it to you. So right now, I'm not qualified to teach you hydrolase conversion, but I'm studying it. So hydrolase is the form of water that is still connected to its spirit body component. I did say that the hydrogen family does not have a neutron window anymore. The hydrogen atom does not have a neutron at its core, at its center. So it doesn't have a way to communicate with its own spirit body component. Hydrolase is a form of water that still has its spirit body component together. So when you generate hydrolase in your body, which you're capable of, because you are literally generating all your particles or your atoms, then you can help hydrogen here, water here, not just H2O, but any form of hydrogen. This planet is full of hydrogen atoms and hydrogen bonds. You can help other forms of consciousness, plants, animals, to ascend, to reach a state of consciousness that they wouldn't be able to reach without you. You can help the land, you can help water, you can help large bodies of water. So right now when I eat, I do a very quick hydrolase conversion technique so that I don't bless my food. I literally give energy to it so that we're going home together. Even with animals, they need to go home, or if they want to go home. I'm not imposing my consciousness. I'm not imposing my will on them. I ask that whoever wants to come home with me, let's go home together. If we don't even believe that we are worthy of love, if we don't even respect our bodies, if we don't even believe that everything that we do has an impact, if we are numb to the context that we live in, if we are desensitized to our own feelings, our own sensations, our bodies' signals and messages, then we just keep exhausting outer light body energy. We never fully go back home to recharge from an eternal source of power. We just keep reverberating and consuming other life forms' energies. Now, it doesn't just exist in a food relationship, it exists in intimate relationships as well. If you don't come from a sense of unconditional love, if on some level you are afraid that love hurts, that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, then you keep building relationships where one of you is constantly consuming the other. And usually you keep flipping back and forth. So it's not always a narcissistic relationship. Not everybody is that lucky that it's so clear-cut. Sometimes we just keep consuming each other, just all the time. We keep fighting. We keep misunderstanding each other. We keep giving less than what we would want to give. Maybe you have so much more love in you, but you don't dare to give, because what if you don't get it back? What if you're too giving? What if you're too naive? What if you're going to be misused and abused, and you're just always going to be the more empathetic one and the more mature one in the relationship, and you keep ending up with these babies that you have to parent? Or what if you keep ending up with these complete idols, and you're never going to be able to live up to their being, to their legacy? You're always going to feel like the lesser one in the relationship. That's an energetic imbalance. That's an energetic consumption. That's an addictive relationship. Source keeps giving and giving and giving and giving and giving because it doesn't need anything. If you want to have a bad experience, you get that bad experience. You get exactly what you ask for. No judgment, no morality. It just keeps quantum replicating your intention and attention. So you can direct your attention and you create literally exactly the replica of your intended encryption of your script. So let's become better writers.